Hi guys, and welcome back to Adams Aquatics. Today's Tuesday, so we're here for another vlog style video. We're going to go through the ins and outs and happenings in the fish room this week. There's been a lot of changes, been a lot of ups and downs, so let's just go through what's happened this week. So I'm not sure whether you guys know or not, but when I was cleaning out some tanks the other day, I found some master fry. I only found 3. I already had 1 last week, but I found another 2 this week, plus there is another one in there, so there will be a total of 4. Once I manage to get the other guy out, I'll have to net him. They're looking quite good, quite healthy. See if I can focus on him. I'm going to move him into a bigger grow-out soon, which I'm going to show you very shortly. So we've had a lot of spawning behaviour from Master Eye, pair Venus and Mars. She is guarding the back of the pot right there, and he's just being put into a collar here. So I think in the next couple of days I'll start to see Fry. I cleaned out the breeding trays the other day, so when I get over to that setup I'll show you exactly what's going on, and we might see some more breeding action here now. But yeah, they've been acting really quite cool and quite, they've been, yeah. So I'm not quite sure what's going on in this tank. Percy's obviously out and about and has been as always, but his female I haven't seen for like 3 to 4 days. I haven't rooted around there to see if I can find a body or not. What I think maybe she's got some fry. She was looking really engorged and quite fat prior to her going missing, so I'm going to give it another couple of days and see if she does show up with some fry. He does keep popping his head in and out of one of the coconuts right at the back, so hopefully that's what's going on. I've tested the water, all the levels are at normal levels, and he's acting fine. He's obviously just really hungry because I've been kind of fasting them all a little bit this week to kind of get the hydra in the tanks under control. We had a bit of an outbreak of hydra in the baby Cacatoides tank, which I'll show you in a little bit. But so we've been kind of pulling back on feeding a little bit. Just trying to see if I can get a look at her, if she's still in here or not. But yeah, he's looking quite good, as you can see. So we upped the temperature in the fish room this week to try and get some spawning action from the Apistogrammas, but what I didn't realise was that because the big display tank is closer to the heaters, that would go up in temperature quite a bit, which caused a few issues. So obviously I got a couple of blue killifish a couple of weeks ago, a week ago maybe now, I can't remember when I filmed that video. But unfortunately they couldn't deal with the high temperatures, and they both passed on. Now that was my fault. I made a silly mistake and didn't really calculate it very well. Everyone else in the tank's fine, it's all settled in nicely. I managed to catch the bodies before they started to decay, but yeah, so that's just something that you need to obviously think about. They were a cooler water killifish as well, so they needed to be kept around 24, and obviously I was anticipating that might have been an issue, but it hasn't. I think possibly going forward I'm going to avoid killifish just because they're an annual species, majority of them, and that's not something that I really am looking into. And the colours were just something that I'd never seen before, and that's why it was something that I really wanted to bring to the fish room. Now, yes, it was nice to have him for a couple of weeks, and it was nice to experience that, but I think we'll stick to what we're good at and what we know out here on Adams Aquatics, and stay with dwarf cichlids and obviously the fish of like tetras, etc, etc, etc. Give you a quick look at what's going on in the tank. It's all fine, all the parameters are fine. It was just the temperature I think got to them, and that's not something I'm particularly proud of, but obviously I like to be completely transparent as to what's going on in the fish room. The female Abiaxis has settled in nicely. She now that the water's, I've managed to cool the water back down a little bit to about 25. So now the water's cooled down a little bit now, she's out more active. I think again she's more, I think her tolerances are closer to the cooler temperatures. Obviously these guys have been with me, know about the fluctuations in the temperature in the fish room, so that's my own fault. It happens. I am sad about it, but again, we moved on. So I didn't show you these guys last week, just because I was still letting them settle in quite nicely, and they actually have really settled in. They've established a hierarchy and how they kind of like to live now. You've got the 2 bigger males. There's one of the bigger males there. There's one of the bigger males there. and the female, she is normally hiding in the shell because these two are a bit horrible to her. When I feed them, she comes out. She's settled into like this area here with lots of shells, and these two kind of dominate the high ground, and then again the other high ground there. They, like I said before, they've moved all the sand from this area here. But yeah, they're all fine. They're all settled in great. It's actually a really nice tank to just sit here and watch. So, you know, sometimes in the morning before I go to work, I procrastinate by sitting here on the floor just watching these guys interact with each other and interact with their surroundings. So the Amazon sword that was in there, they've just dug it up, so it's going to come out and go somewhere else. I've put some Savinia in there to help with nutrient export. I've now turned off that heater and it's keeping it around 25.7 degrees. Now that the water's nice and warm, and I haven't seen any fluctuations overnight, so I'm just happy for it to stay at this temperature now, which is, yeah, I'm quite happy with it. They both are there. Look. Both together down here. So that was those guys down there. The only other thing to really talk about is because obviously we raised the temperature, there has been a lot of spawning action in the fish room. My Cacatoides have got what I think to be eggs in their tank. She's guarding a pot, and he's been pushed out of the pot. I'm not going to video that just purely because I'm a bit concerned that if I do, she will be spooked and eat the eggs. But what I am going to show you is something which I showed on my Instagram story. The black ram tank. It's fairly new to me, maximum 2 weeks old. They're maximum 2 weeks old to me as well. And they've got some little eggs in there. They've spawned. She is trying to eat them, and he is defending the area, which I find really fascinating. It's more of a paternal care rather than maternal care. He just guards the area, and then she, you know, will just come in and try to eat them. But he'll come in and shoo her off. I think we're going to see her trying to eat some now. I am going to leave them in here and see what happens. That might not be the best of ideas. The best of ideas might be to remove them and try and artificially raise them. But what I'm thinking is that I might just leave them in and see if any become wrigglers, and when they become wrigglers, then I'll remove them. I think that might be something that works a bit better for me than the other way that we just talked about. So that's what my plan is for these guys. But I'm really quite pleased that I've been able to manage to get them to spawn, just purely because I didn't think that they would be able to at this size, and they're quite young still. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if we can get some going through the fish room. Again, I've turned off the temperature for these guys because they were being kept at 26 degrees in the shop that I got them from. So it seems that these are a bit more cool tolerant, which is fantastic. Anyway, I'll give you a nice quick look at it. One thing I've noticed about these compared to the other rams that I've kept is that these guys are a lot more quick to food. They love the food. They love food. I've been feeding these guys because there's no hydra in this tank. I've been feeding these guys 3 times a day, and they've really put on quite a lot of fat and a lot of size recently, quite quickly. Whether that's because this tank's a bit hotter because of where it is in the fish room, I don't know. But yeah, they've been eating a lot, and then yeah, it's ended in a spawn, which I'm really quite happy about. Hopefully we'll get some wrigglers in the next couple of days. So as you can see, they're kind of starting to sex out now. That's quite clearly a female, that's quite clearly a male behind her. Again, another quite clear female here, and a quite clear male there. They're starting to do their best impression of their dad, which is they're quite aggressive towards each other. And yeah, I'm really quite pleased with these guys. Let's see if this guy will come up and flare. They're starting to get their front couple of fins to be raised now. The orange is starting to show really, there we go, just like their dad. So yeah, they're starting to get nice and big, almost ready to go to the shop. I reckon 1 more week and then we'll be ready to go. and then these guys potentially, depending on how set up I am with the new fry system, will go into that tank. If not, this is going to be the new breeding pair. Possibly the new Abiaxis will go into that tank. We'll need a bit of a, rescape, etc., to make it similar to the other tanks. But yeah, potentially Abiaxis will go in there instead of going into the display tank, or we might be potentially looking at another fish for the display tank, depending on what happens. At the end of the day, we've got Aries in there anyway, so there's always a fish in there for that purpose. I think everyone's hungry. So over to the breeding trays. So you obviously know the breeding setup as it is. I gave it all a complete clean out. I changed over all of the air pipe, which again supplied the water. I cleaned all of the sponges. Nice and clean, nice and tidy in there now, and every day I'm removing any detritus that builds up. So then down lower. These guys are just like plastic, quite rigid plastic trays that I got from the bargain store that I went to the other day, and these guys are going to be the first grow out, so similar to this one, first grow out, and the second grow out is going to be this massive black toad. So it's huge, it holds 200 litres of water, and it will be a great grow out. We're going to drill a hole here for overflow, possibly here, and then that will overflow in there, so that when we fill it up, it's an overflow system. So that's what we're going to look to do in the next video. Kai's still in the hospital tank. She is potentially going to go into one of these tanks, whichever one frees up soonest. Could be this one. Could be this one if Percy has killed off his female. He could be going in the display tank. I'm not really too sure what my plans are yet, but by my next video I will have decided. As much as I do love the female bears, this does feel like a bit of a waste of a tank when you think about it in comparison to what the aim and the goal of the fish room is. They're starting to get up in age anyway, towards a year, so what's going to happen is when they do pass, we're potentially not going to look to replace them, and then this tank will become free for breeders in the future. I need to work out a better solution for feeding brine shrimp, because I think I make too much and then I feed too much, and then it always happens that I cause hydra in the fish room, and it's not something that I want it to continue, because it's bad for fry. They latch on and they eat fry. Not something that I want when you're trying to breed fish. So yeah, that's just more about my knowledge and my understanding about what's going on, and kind of doing a better job at trying to protect from hydra. Okay, so I thought I'd do a little bit of a feeding for you guys now. So I'm going to feed the baby cacatoides, and try and feed the baby Mars dry. This food might be a little bit big for them. If it is too big, I'm going to remove it with the turkey baster, and then I'll probably feed the rest of the black round just because they're always really hungry, and then maybe a little bit to the display tank, because that doesn't get enough food at the moment, because it's only getting 1 cube a day, whereas I used to do 2. But again, we're just trying to make sure that there was nothing nasty going on with obviously the 2 recent departures that we've had from this tank, yeah, that's the reason why. So we're feeding frozen spirulina brine to make sure we don't get any bloat from anyone, so let's go. So they normally know, yeah, see, they know. So they polished that off in approximately, what, 20 seconds? I think there's like 4 bits left, and the big dominant male will probably eat them. He normally does. So yeah, they're ravenous at the moment. They just eat. So I'm going to try and feed a little bit to these guys and see if they take a little bit. Make sure it's nice and small. There we go. He's had a little bit there. I'm going to leave it in with these guys for about 20 minutes to half an hour, just because they're not as quick to food. I think they're just a bit scared of. You think about it, for the first 4 to 5 weeks of their lives, they were just in this tank with their parents, swimming about in the leaf litter and stuff, and then I quickly hooked them out and put them into this breeding box, which is in clear display. They're still not particularly. There you go. See that they're just munching away now. It should grow up nice and quick. I've been trying to feed obviously similar foods to what their parents eat, because that's what they have been eating whilst they've been in this tank. So yeah. So the rest we're going to feed a little bit to the black rams. So these guys are super. So I'm trying to make sure that they stay well fed, because I'm concerned that if they're not, that's when they'll start to eat the eggs. Guys, the food's at the bottom. Let's hit. They can see the pot on top of their tank, so they're just trying to peck at the thing, but it's all here. Move that. It's all here, look. Come on, boy. I gave these guys names. Don't know if you guys know from previous videos or not. I can't remember whether I told you guys, but the male is Achilles and the female is Pandora. There we go. These guys pot off food exactly the same as the Cacatoides fry. They're just always hungry. Like, I can feed them 2, 3, 4 times a day and they will just eat it. I keep. We can probably actually feed a little bit to the Shelleys, because they haven't. So let's go. Feed a little bit to these 3. They quite like this actually. Again, these guys are really quick to food, which is great. It's really fun to watch. Because obviously with my Apistogramma, I kind of, because I overfeed them, not overfeed them, but I feed them well enough. They're not really active to the food. So with these guys, I've been really trying to like hold back on the food and make sure that I only give them enough for what they need. And it's been really fun to watch them. Obviously, they're really quick to the food. So that's about it for this week. That wraps up what's happened in the fish room. So we've kind of, like I've said, we've had some sad news and some deaths, which are kind of my fault. We've had some good news, which is some new spawning activity and an actual spawn, which I've actually managed to see. And we've also set up the new breeding rack, which is waiting for the sponge filters to arrive. The holes are already drilled for the filtration. It's just a case of we're just literally just waiting for those to arrive. And then yeah, we're pretty much set up for another fun week this week. One of the videos this week I'm going to do is I'm going to drill the overflow for the breeding. I don't even know what to call it. Breeding tote, grow out tote, the 200 litre tote, and then obviously you've got what we're going to do is we're going to plug those holes on the grey totes, and then they will overflow into. So what's going to happen is they will overflow into the big tote underneath, and then that will overflow out. So there will be constant flow of nice clean water into the tank, which will really help with growth and speed of growth, which is obviously something that we've learned through raising the Cacatoides is that they've grown a lot quicker since they've been in a bigger tank. So it's more about the bigger tank you give them earlier on, the better it will be. Obviously you've got to start quite small, because you don't want to lose them. So it's about transferring them at the right time. And that's about it for this week. So join me on Thursday for another video. Not too sure what that one's going to be yet, but yeah, that's it for this week. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at adams.aquatics, and I shall see you next time.